Here's Bob and Suzanne.
Chicken joke! I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're on a mission from God.
Run, Forrest, run!
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
You had me at hello.
Nanu.
Baby, you're the great.
I'm not going to be ignored.
Here comes the judge.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I got nowhere else to go!
Small cowbell.
That fashion.
There's anything wrong with that. You can't handle the truth.
I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star!
That's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all. I'm the dude.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. This is podcast episode number 48. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Bob.
I'm really excited about today's podcast. We are talking to a famed casting director, one of Hollywood's leading ladies, if you will, Lisa London of London-Stroud Casting.
She's a very big deal in the business.
If you're an actor, you want to hear this conversation. Hey, before we get started, I do want to talk about our new version of Where Hollywood Hides Santa Barbara.
Celebrities in Paradise.
Our book is now available in softcover on the website at wherehollywoodhides.com and on Amazon.
So wasn't it fun watching the Golden Globes the other night?
Fabulous.
Fabulous gowns, fabulous hairdos.
Were there any surprises for you?
Not really. All my favorite guys won. For Best Picture, drama, The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Incredible movie.
They won for Best Picture and he won for Best Actor. And then there was a little bit of controversy for Best Picture in a comedy or musical, which is a little odd. They named The Martian, which I love the movie, but I don't think it was a comedy.
It certainly wasn't there was a lot of music in it, but it wasn't a musical.
Matt was funny. Of course, he got Best Actor for a musical or comedy. And I thought, they don't want to pin these two guys against each other.
A little odd, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, and then for Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture was Brie Larson for Room. And Best Actress for a Comedy or Musical was Jennifer Lawrence. And, of course, that was for Joy, and that was fabulous, I thought.
For Best Actress as in comedy or musical?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a category that the Academy Awards does not have.
Okay.
But the Golden Globes does it.
That explains it.
And Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture is Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs. And Best Supporting Actor was my favorite, Sylvester Stallone. He was...
in Creed, yeah.
Yeah, in Creed. That was a really good film. I didn't expect anything because it's, so...
Like Rocky 42.
Right. But it was really good, and Sylvester Stallone was very good.
Surprisingly good movie, incredible performance on his part.
Somebody asked me the other day who votes for the Golden Globes, and I was just wanted to mention 93 members of the foreign press votes for these categories. So these poor actors have to sit in a room and be interviewed by the foreign press and really pitch themselves and the movie and whoever it is, if it's the director. The same thing. There's a lot of work that goes behind trying to not only get nominated, but to win. So I loved the Golden Globes, and I can't wait for the Academy Awards.
One of the great run-ups to the Academy Awards is right here in Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, which is taking place right now.
Very exciting time for Santa Barbara.
In Santa Barbara. And if you want to see celebrities, again, our book, Where Hollywood Hides Santa Barbara. But if you want to see celebrities in the flesh, get up to Santa Barbara this week.
Do you know how many years we've been having the film festival?
32.
31.
This year, if you're up here in Santa Barbara, you are liable to bump into Michael Keaton, who's receiving the American Riviera Award at the festival. Sylvester Stallone himself will be here.
For the Montecito Award.
Right. Brie Larson, whom you mentioned, she'll be here. Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Diane Ladd, director David O. Russell, Rooney Mara, and the great Jane Fonda will be here in town, all celebrating motion pictures in Hollywood. Now, today's interview is with Lisa London. Lisa is the daughter of one of Hollywood's most successful television directors, Jerry London, who's a close friend of mine. He and I have worked together.
We actually did a podcast with him.
Right. Lisa grew up on her dad's motion picture and television sets, and she has experienced the demands of directing and acting firsthand, and she brought that to bear in her own career as a casting director. She's worked with major studios and networks, including Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Happy Madison Productions, the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, VH1, and
on.
Everything in Hollywood she's done, basically. Her casting career expands over 25 years, and we're going to be talking to her. I really want to ask her about the people she's discovered, because I think...
As in Jennifer Aniston.
As in Myley Cyrus, as in Jonah Hill, as in Emma Stone. But I want to hear the story of how that all happened. And Lisa is very articulate about the business of acting. If you're at all interested in how to become an actor, how to break into show business, you definitely want to listen to what she has to say. She's also got a brand new book called From Start to Stardom, The Casting Director's Guide for Aspiring Actors. So it's a real inside view of the acting business and how to break in and how to really succeed.
A casting director, they have such power. I remember being quite nervous because the casting director is the very first person that
they're the real gatekeeper.
Audition. I can't wait to hear what Lisa has to say, so let's go to Lisa.
Lisa London, you are the partner in London-Stroud Casting, one of Hollywood's premier casting agencies, and I think your story is very unique. Give us an idea.
Yes.
Give us an idea what your background is, how you actually got into the business.
Well, I had the good fortune of growing up in Hollywood with a father who is an infamous television director, and he directed everything from, Brady Bunch and Partridge Family and $6 Million Man and Kojak and Police Story, and then he directed, Mary Tyler Moore's Show and all these shows, and then he became the king of the miniseries.
And he is the famous Jerry London.
Yes, and he is Jerry London, absolutely, my awesome dad. And so what happened is, and then he did miniseries, right? He became the king of the miniseries. He did Shogun with Richard Chamberlain, and
which was huge.
Yeah. Huge, amazing. It was I think he was the first director to direct like all 10 hours of a miniseries. Like, normally in the past they had done it where, a director would do, 2 hours. So
Sure.
He was the first one to get to do an entire 10 hours, right? So I grew up on sets. And when I was in high school and junior high, my friends go, "What are you doing after school?" And I go, "I'm going to the set. I'm going to hang out with my dad." And it was just something I did. It was part of my life. And
so you were really drawn to it? I mean, you found it very appealing in some fashion?
Yeah, well, I really liked actors. And so I always liked to talk to the actors, and I'd sit around and I'd say, "Hey, how did you become successful? What did you do? How did you get here?" I was always interested in the journey. And, when my dad did Shogun, John Rhys Davies, who's been in a bunch of, different movies, and he was in all the Indiana Jones movies, I used to sit on his lap, and he would recite Shakespeare to me.
How cool.
Wow.
And then my dad did a movie of the week in Italy called The Scarlet and the Black with Gregory Peck and Christopher Plummer and Sir John Gielgud. And I was a production assistant on this project.
And how old were you?
That was my first summer after college.
Okay,
So
okay.
What I'm hearing here, it really helps to know the right people.
The advantage I had is because I worked on sets, I was a production assistant during the summers in between college, and then I worked on these shows, is I got to learn all about production and how that worked. And then I also got to chat with the actors. And so my father did a pilot called Hotel for Aaron Spelling.
Oh, yes.
And the cast, remember that? And
yes,
at the time,
all the beautiful people. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And then when on that particular project, I was a production assistant, and my father let me sit in the casting sessions. And the casting directors were Lynn Stalmaster and Toni Howard, who had a huge company. And I sat in the casting sessions, and they'd ask me my opinion. And now I'm in my 20s, and you're in your 20s, you think you know everything.
Of course.
And they go, "What do you think of him?" I go, "Oh, he's great. I love him." "Oh, yeah, I think, he's really good. What do you think of him?" "No, I don't see it. No, not ready. He doesn't have it. I don't see him in this part." And lo and behold, 3 months later, they offered me a job.
Wow. That must have been so exciting for you.
Now, had you had any background in acting? Did you, when you were opining about actors, where was that coming from?
No, I just liked them. It's a funny thing, Bob, because when I was always somebody who read magazines and, funny enough, tore out articles about actors. I still do that to this day as part of my research and everything, but I always did that as a kid, and I don't know why, I just did. I was always interested. And so when these guys, they offered me a job and I started in casting, I go, oh, that's the right fit for me. It totally makes sense, And I don't know, I just had an instinct and a very strong passion for actors. As far as being an actress, I had no interest. I had gotten a couple one-liners that my dad gave me when I was a production assistant. He gave me couple one-liners. I was like, what? You sit around all day to say a line? No way, I'm not doing this.
Right, and that's what they do sometimes.
Well, and if you want to be an actor, you have to have a strong passion and a drive to do that, right?
Right.
That was not my area.
But had you studied acting in any academic fashion in terms of Strasberg or the method or any of that kind of stuff? Or
no, I did not study that, but I did. I didn't do any of that, but when I went to, when I started as an assistant in casting, I actually studied with Milton Katselis. Who had a huge acting studio. I studied there. I took classes twice a week for 2 years, and I did that to learn more about the actors and the actor's journey, and to learn more about directing actors, because as a casting director we're always changing. We have to give actors direction, and we're tweaking their performances and all of that. So I did that for 2 years, and I got up on stage in his class to act. He bugged me about it for months and months, and I was like, no, I don't want to be an actress. I'm not going to act. And he goes, no, you're going to do this. And then when I finally did my first scene, he turned to the class and said, does everybody know what she does? And they go, no. And they go, oh, she's in casting. And they were like, what? What do you mean she's
You must have been very popular at that point.
Yeah, I was. But I guess people thought, wow, you're really good. You should be an actress. It's like, no. Just wasn't my passion.
So Lisa, on your first job as a casting director, what was that like? You were like an apprentice?
Well, I was an assistant. I worked as an assistant for Lynn, Stalmaster, and Toni Howard, and some great casting directors that worked there then, Lisa Freiberger.
And what does being an assistant for somebody like Stalmaster entail?
Well, you're in charge of setting up sessions, and you're confirming actors, and you're making sure you're doing helping them with lists, and they were open to, you giving them ideas, but you're contributing to the motion of the project. In those days, the interesting thing is it's completely changed, right? Because you didn't record all the actors like you do now. We tape every audition. So everybody came in. Everybody came in live, and
those must have been great fun days, though, right?
Yeah, totally. And they all came in and they read with the casting directors and everybody. I mean, a lot of people do that now, but now everything's changed because we're so much more in a technological age.
Right.
But so I did all that. I learned about making lists and checking availabilities of actors, all of that stuff.
Well, give us an idea for our audience that is really unaware of all this, and we have a lot of people around the world who will never have a Hollywood career, but they're fascinated by the process. Tell us what happens to get a casting director involved in a project. Does he just say, oh, this looks like a part for, pick an actor, Brad Pitt. I'm going to call Brad Pitt up and see if he wants to do this? How does it actually work?
I wish it was that easy that we could call Brad Pitt and say, hey, do you want to do this?
Right.
But, no. So the way it works usually is we, as casting directors, get hired by either producers, directors, studios, or networks, depending on the project, right? So we get sent a script, and we look at it, and we read it, and then we have a meeting and kind of have to pitch our ideas and talk to them and see how we mesh together, because casting is a very collaborative process, right? So you're working with a director and a producer, and you want to be a team, right, when you're casting. So
Sure.
we get a script, we look at it, we come up with ideas, we go in, we talk to the producer and directors about our ideas, and then that's how we end up getting hired for a project.
So,
right?
so you must be a real people person, because what I'm hearing is not only do you have to kind of mesh with the actors and work with them and them trust you, you also have to mesh with some of the directors and producers, and not everybody is easy to get along with.
No, and that is totally true. I am a people person. That's part of the thing. I mean, I've always, you're always out there meeting, talking, all of that. You have to be, I think, in casting a people person. Because you're working with a lot of personalities.
Right.
You're not only working with producers and directors, you're working with, if it's a studio film or a pilot for television, you're working with them too, And there's a lot of personalities with a lot of different opinions involved. So you got to, make it work so it comes out great, and it's a big collaboration, right?
So you come up with a list of potential candidates for a particular role, and you submit that to the production company or whoever's hired you?
Well, it depends how it goes, right? So say, for example, it's a pilot or if it's a feature, right? And sometimes on features they have people attached. So if you're Brad Pitt, you're going to be attached to a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We're not getting, it's a rare occasion probably where somebody says, hey, I'm going to see if Brad Pitt wants to be in my
Right.
movie.
Yeah, the picture's being made because of Brad Pitt, sure.
Yeah, exactly. But, there's a lot of times where we're out there trying to get names for movies or, different kinds of pilots. But that depends on what it is, right? So we'll make lists, we submit ideas to the producer, director, the studio, and, you make offers to them. But that's for the big roles, right? Sometimes you're making an independent feature. Maybe you're not getting, you try to get some names, but not always well-known actors. It just depends what the project is. And then you have to go into the process of casting.
Now, once you've made some selections, does the casting director negotiate the salary for the actor?
Yes, on some things, and no on others. Depends exactly, again, what it is. If it's a big, big movie, or usually they have lawyers and studio executives who are doing that. But we can make initial offers, like, hey, we're going to make you an offer of this much money.
Right. Now, you're famously known for having cast Jennifer Aniston in her first feature, and Myley Cyrus you brought into Hanna Montana, and you discovered Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. Tell us what those moments were like when those particular people or people like them, when they come into a casting session. Are they different in any way?
The thing about it is all those guys like Jonah, I put him in one of his early movies. He'd done one other one, but, Grandma's Boy that I put him in, what happened, here's an example. Like, he came into my office for that movie, Grandma's Boy, that I was casting for Adam Sandler's company, Happy Madison, right? And he just had so much charm and charisma, and he was funny and talented. And as a casting director, I have an eye, right? I've done this for so long, so I have an eye for talent. I can see when somebody has a huge amount of potential, or they have that it factor. And the it factor, I say, is an intangible quality. You can't put it you can't put the name on it and say it's always this, it's always that. If you think of, there's actors, there's musicians, there's athletes, they all have that, certain people have that it factor when you look at them, Lady Gaga, Michael Jordan, there's tons of them, guys. So I have a certain ability to see in people whether they're going to be a star or whether, I have that ability to see if they're going to be a star. So when Jonah came in, I just knew this guy was so fun and so talented, and I said, okay, he needs to be in this movie. And what happened is he read for the lead nemesis part, which I really didn't think he was right for, but I knew he needed to be in the movie. So I called my producer, Alan Covert, and I said, listen, there's this guy, and he's so fun, and you've got to meet him, and he's not right for this part, but I'm telling you, you're going to want to put him in the movie. So he goes, okay, bring him in. And I brought him in, and they read him and said, oh, my God, you're so right. And then they wrote him a big part in the movie. So
wow.
He got one of the supporting roles. It's the same like with Myley when she came in for Hanna Montana. Well, actually, the story with Myley is that she put her first audition on tape. She wasn't in L.A. And so we saw something in her tape, but then we asked her to redo it and give her some direction. And she did it again, and we submitted it, and then they were like, I don't know, And so what happened is we ended up, she came out to L.A., we worked with her when she came out to L.A., and then we brought her into producers, and they, it was an interesting process because it wasn't like, oh, my God, she got that job, first time, first callback. She had 6-7 callbacks for that project, Hanna Montana, and we saw probably over 1,200 girls for that.
Oh, my goodness, that many.
Yeah,
wow.
All over the United States. But my partner, Catherine Stroud, and I kept putting her in the mix because we saw that girl was going to be a star. We just knew it.
That's interesting. And she wound up surfacing at the top. So what is it that you look for in that very first interview with an actor? Are you looking for that it factor? Does everybody have to be a star?
No. Now, that's what I was going to say. You can't study to be a star. You can only study to be the best actor that you can be, right? So that's what you do. And no, there's many huge talented actors out there, lots of them. And if it's their dream and their passion, I always tell them they should go for it. So no, what I look for when you come into an audition is it's three things. It's your talent, it's your personality, and it's your charisma, who you are. When it's your personality and charisma too. You could come in, you might not have 1 million credits. Myley had none. She'd been on stage singing with her dad, and that was it. So it's all of those things. It's a combination of the three, because you can be hugely talented, and you might not have a great personality, So it's usually a combination of all.
And then once you and Catherine have screened an actor, and you're getting ready to present them to a director or producer or the studio, what kind of guidance do you give them? Do you give them any direction at all, or just it's all up?
Well, let's say they come in and we go, okay, here, you need to change this up, or we'll tweak them and we'll give them direction for sure. And then they'll come back in for the producers and directors, and hopefully they took our direction and did what they did for us in the room. And then sometimes the producers and directors give them different direction. And sometimes they don't. They just go, great. That was really, they like what they did. You remember the actor, I know you know Giovanni Ribisi, who's been in a bunch of great movies, Avatar, and he was in Saving Private Ryan. Well, I auditioned him. I did Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres had a series.
Right.
And I did a show called Ellen, and I brought Giovanni in one of his first jobs to play a grocery store clerk. And he came in and read the scene cross-eyed. That was his choice, because an actor, when they're coming in for an audition, it's like part of their job is to make a choice, right? So he made this choice to read the scene cross-eyed. And I don't even know how he
Did you say cross-eyed?
No, cross-eyed. That's how he read.
Like to cross your eyes.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, made that choice to read it cross-eyed, right?
Okay.
So, and that was his choice on it. And, nobody else did that. And then what happened is the producer said, okay, that was great. Let's try it like this. And he did it a different way. And they said, great. And then he got the job. So, you see, because part of what an actor, when they come in for an audition, they're making a choice. They have to decide what's their character about. How are they going to play this scene? What are they going to do?
Now, I've been in a lot of casting sessions where the actor comes in and he's in the role. He's playing the part the minute they walk in the door. Is that something you recommend?
Yeah, that's a personal choice. Like if an actor wants to come in and let's say it's a very serious part, sometimes people want to come in and they're in their zone, right? So they come in, they can say, hey, can we just read it and we can chat after? So, that's a choice whether you want to do that. But I always tell actors, make sure be a person too, So if the casting director, the producer wants to chat with you and you're in that zone, you just say, hey, is it okay if we do the scene first and we'll chat after?
Well, that's a very good tip, because I've had people come in playing heavies and they never break character. And when they leave the room, everybody looks at each other thinking, I don't want to be in a room with that guy.
Right. So that's why I say you have to be a person, because you can say afterwards, after you do it, then you chat and say, hey, how, then you be a person.
Sure.
So they get to see your personality and know who you are,
So give us
But I've heard people who've done that too,
So you've probably had, 10,000 auditions before you, things like, you've had a long career. Give us an idea. The actor who walked in the room and had the part immediately, the one who really hit you the most with that it factor, and you knew that this person was going to be that part, and you went through another couple hundred people and always came back to that person. Because I've had that experience where the first guy that walked in got the part and we had to see 500 other people.
Oh, yeah. Well, that happens quite a bit. But, that's part of the process. Yeah. For sure, I would say that happened, we just knew Myley had something, right? But another example is Jennifer Aniston. When we first cast her, she was this beautiful, fun, bubbly, talented girl. We saw that right away. We cast her in Leprechaun. We also cast her in a series called The Edge, which was like a sketch comedy show, and it was for Fox that was on for 12 episodes. This is before Friends.
That was a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then another one who came in and we knew she had it was Emma Stone.
Who's now a major star, yeah.
Yeah, major star. But funny thing about Emma is we did Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on the Disney Channel, and Emma came in and read, and we saw that right away, talented girl, full of life, just an amazing personality. And she ended up, the first job she got with us was doing the voiceover of one of the characters' dogs. They had these dogs on the show that were talking, and she ended up doing voiceover job on it, which was kind of we're like, oh my God. So she did that first, and then when House Bunny, which we cast for Adam's company, also came around, we just knew she was going to be a huge star. And this is before Easy A had come out, which is the movie that kind of turned her career.
Right.
And
when an actor walks in with their headshot and resume, do you even care what's on that resume?
Yeah, sure. I do. We look, now everything is digital, right? So all our submissions are sent to us digitally.
So you must spend a lot of time in front of the computer.
A lot of time in front of a computer. So
Right.
when we look at auditions, we're looking, well, not auditions, but when we look at headshots, so we look at their headshot, and then we look at their resume. And that's what we do on, we click it, but it's all done online. So we care, for sure. It depends what we're casting, though. We've done a lot of stuff where we've done pilots, and, sometimes you're looking for somebody new, so maybe they don't have a ton of credits. That's okay.
Now, Lisa, I've always wanted to ask this of a casting director. Leading men and women, how they look, have really changed in the last 20 years, 25 years. And of course, everybody has to go with that. Dustin Hoffman was one of the first to break that, I think, in terms of leading men. Which is harder to cast, or maybe it's just all individual? If a producer says, I want someone beautiful and talented, or someone who is a character-looking type, but really talented, are one or the other harder to cast?
You know what? I think there's a lot of awesome character actors out there, that are super talented, and they're great. I really
and they're
do.
attractive in their own right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our business has changed a lot. I think there's a lot more opportunity for diversity in film and television. Shonda Rhimes has done an amazing job with her shows, from Grey's Anatomy and Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder. And there's a lot more opportunity, I think. So I just think that to me, it depends what it is, but I think there's a lot of awesome character actors out there, and depending on what it is we're casting, sometimes finding really funny beautiful people is tricky.
Sure.
I worked at Lorimar before it became Warner Brothers. I worked with Barbara Miller, who was the head of casting over there for 2.5 years. And she used to always say this one thing, that God doesn't give with both hands. And she was referring to casting, funny and beautiful.
Sure.
That was like finding a diamond in the rough. Jennifer was that.
And what's funny is I was taking a look at an old Jim Carrey movie, and there was a scene where he was not animated, and I thought, gee, he's a nice-looking guy. But I never thought of him as great-looking because he's so animated and funny.
Exactly. You think of him a little bit character-y.
In your description of the current casting process and everything being digital, how much importance is it that things be shot in a certain way for an actor's audition reel? I mean, it sounds like, gosh, that video is critical.
Well, here's the deal. Now, a lot more auditions, like when we're casting pilots, we just did a movie. We did an independent movie called In Search of Fellini that they're shot in Ohio and Italy. And the lead girl was they were open to an unknown girl in her early 20s. And it ended up that we got audition tapes from different girls across the country, right? And, my suggestion to people when they're putting themselves on tape or they're doing that, in this day and age, it's not that hard anymore because you don't have to have a camera that's $1 million to make a good reel. So you can have a camera, you can do stuff. I know actors who do their auditions on their iPhones because the quality is pretty good now,
Yeah.
But the main thing about it is when you're shooting is you've got to make sure your lighting is good, your background is plain, like you're not. I had one guy who sent me an audition tape and he was standing in his kitchen, right? And I was like, what? And I was sitting there looking at it going, I wonder what kind of stove that is.
That's not good. That's not good.
No, you know what I mean? So my point is that you don't, the main thing is when you're taping is, the lighting, the sound, your sound quality, so we can hear you. It's not muffled. It's not, bad sound quality. And the background. You want it as simple and plain as possible. So,
is it possible for you to go out to a movie or to a show or to dinner with your dad or something like that without looking for that next movie star? Truthfully now, are you always looking?
No, it's really hard. I mean, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm always looking at people, and it's so funny that you asked me that because I'll be like in a restaurant and I'll say, a lot of people in Los Angeles, especially waiters or waitresses or actors. But I was in New York. I was in New York recently, and there was a girl in the anthropology who was, one of the sales ladies and was working there. And she was so cute, and she was talking to me, and I was with my daughter, and she said something about, I said, "Are you an actress?" And she said, "Yes."
Oh.
So, and then we started chatting, and she told me what she was doing, and I said, "Oh my God, okay, cool. Well, send me your stuff, But
that's every actor's dream. You realize that, just kind of bumping.
I know, but I have a hard time not doing that. Like I'm always looking because you never know. I mean, you just don't know where you're going to find the next star or what's going to happen. You just don't know, or what part you're going to have, and you go, "Oh my God, I met this girl and she was awesome, and I'm going to bring her in for an audition."
Sounds pretty exciting.
So you're basically a stalker of talent.
I wouldn't want to say stalker since that has a negative connotation.
That's right. That's
but I would say a seeker.
A seeker,
talent.
okay.
That's better.
Yes.
Give me an idea back in the days when you were doing live auditions and you actually had to see actors. What was
Well, we still do. We still see them, right? Like, we still have them come in and audition live for us, always. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that if we're searching or something, we get tapes also around the, from wherever. We'll take out tapes. But our office still sees people live because it depends on the producer whether you bring them in and have callbacks or whether the producer or director just watches links. So that's up to each project and how the producer director process.
Without naming names, what's the worst audition you've ever seen?
what? I always get asked that question, and I'll just tell you my one funny, crazy story. And I don't know if it's the worst, but it's the craziest. I was doing this show called The Edge. It was a sketch comedy show. It was for Fox. And the assignment was that people could come in, and they had 2 minutes to show us their characters and whatever they wanted to do. So this guy comes into my office, kind of a heavy-set guy, and I go, okay, you ready? And he said, yes. So he puts on this music, and he starts doing this dance. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know where this is going, right? He stands on my coffee table.
Oh, no.
Starts doing a striptease. It just tell you something. He's an overweight guy, like quite heavy-set, and I go, no, he's not going to do this. There's no way, right? So I don't stop it because I'm in total no, that he's just going to do a thing and do another character. I'm so thinking, no way. The guy, keeps going and strips down all the way down and has reindeer thing on his privates. I am there, my mouth, I was in shock. I didn't even know what to say. I was dying.
That's something to remember.
That's a bad audition experience.
An area we haven't touched upon, but real quickly I wanted to, is you also deal with agents, right?
I always deal with agents and managers, for
right.
sure.
And so that's another element that your people skills come in, because you have to have these relationships with them.
It's all collaboration, for sure.
So having heard your most hideous audition experience, what was your very best audition experience?
Well, you see what I mean? That's a tricky question, because I feel like, that happened for sure with Jonah. Another one that I have a few more, but another one that I got that with was, I auditioned, I did a series called Due South that was a show that took place in Canada, and I was the LA casting director that we would cast, one or two of the guest star roles, and Mark Ruffalo auditioned for me for the role for one of the episodes as a guest star. And another one who just had an amazing presence. He was a really great actor, came in. I was like, oh my God, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, he is a fine actor, for sure.
Yeah, he's a really good actor. And it was one of his first jobs. I submitted his tape up to the producers who were in Canada. That's where they were shooting it. And he ended up getting the job.
And his career has not exactly been like an overnight success. He's really worked and worked and worked.
Yeah, but he's such a great actor, and he's a really good guy. And
so before we get to what advice you would give to a young actor, tell us, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to become the next Lisa London, who wants to get into casting?
Somebody who wants to get into casting, the trick on that is you have to watch a lot of television. You have to go to movies. You have to read magazines. You go to theater. That's part of your job. You're researching. You're always looking for actors, and you have the ability to really go, okay, here's a part. Who do I think that would be right for it? So if you want to get into casting, the best way to do it is to work as an assistant for somebody, because that's how you learn the ropes. But before, if you want to become an assistant, or while you're an assistant, you have got to really do all those things. You're doing your research. You got to know how to be able to make lists and who would be the perfect actor for these roles.
But how do I get that job? How do I become an assistant for, say, London-Stroud or anybody else?
There's the Casting Society of America, which is the CSA, and they have, you can put your resume up there that you're looking for.
That's a good idea.
Assistant. Yeah, you can do that. And also, if you do research and you watch TV or you go to these movies, you can send a note or a short note or whatever to a casting director and say, hey, I'd love to come in. You could intern for them, and learn how it rolls, learn the ropes. It's not that hard if somebody's casting a show to find out where their office is, and call up and say, hey, I'd love to be an intern, and send them a note.
Now let's talk about something that is pretty much a phenomenon, and that is the fact that you are now an author. Your book, From Start to Stardom, really...
I love the cover.
Really does tell people it's really a paint by the numbers if you want to break into show business. This is the guidebook, isn't it?
Yes. And here's the deal on this. So what happened is, for years, I got asked by, actors and parents and kids, and it didn't matter, graduating high school, college, whatever it was, or even older. How do you get into the business? What do you do? How do you get a headshot? How come I don't get callbacks? How do I do this? How do I get an agent? So what happened is, I had been thinking about it, right? I'd been thinking about writing a book. And then this friend of mine, Rochelle Goodrich, who's worked, a lot in different areas of the business. She's worked in production. She's worked in theater. And I was with her on a vacation, and I said, I'm thinking of writing a book. And she said, about what? And I said, I want to write a book to help actors. And she goes, oh my God, that's a great idea. And that's how it started. And then I wrote this book. So what happened is, it took us a couple of years, writing a book, and we rewrote it and added interviews in it and kept changing it up a bit. But that's how it came about, because I wanted a book out there that could give actors sort of the guide on how, like the A to Z guide on how do you go about doing these things.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I took a very careful look at it, and it really is the sort of thing that any parent of a kid who thinks they want to tap dance or become a television or movie actor, a parent needs to read this book too.
Totally. I wrote it for parents, teens, if you're graduating high school, college. Megan Hilty, who was starred on Broadway in Wicked, I gave her first TV job. She's another one that I saw in the theater, by the way. I saw her in theater, go, oh my God, that girl's so funny. She's got to be on TV. She's got to be in movies. And she got her first job with me on Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. And she gave me a great quote on it, saying she wished she had this book when she graduated college. Because so many people come out of college and it was they want to be actors, whether they study theater, whether they don't study theater, and they go, okay, now how do I do it? What do I do now? So as parents, as teens, as guys graduating high school, college, anybody wants to be an actor, that's what I did. I wrote this book to help them. And I've even had friends in their 30s and 40s who've read it who said, oh my God, your book helped me so much, because there's all this stuff about auditioning and what does casting directors look for, and how do you, why don't you get a callback? What's the reason? What goes on behind that? So my book is filled with lots of really good tips.
If you could pick one tip, what's the most important thing an actor needs to know about breaking in?
You know what the most important thing is? It has to be their passion, and they have to persist. Because there's a lot of no, but you got to keep going.
Now, you also are conducting a series of seminars across the country, aren't you?
Yeah, so what happened is I wrote this book, and then I realized that I really like, teaching and helping actors. So I'll set up a seminar. I did one in Atlanta, or an agent or an acting teacher will have me come out, and I'll go down for a weekend and do a 2-day class. And it's really teaching about auditioning technique. It's from the casting director perspective, and it's trying to give actors more info on the audition process and audition technique, and to help them and answer any questions they have. And it's really fun. I really like doing it. I meet actors from all over the place, and I'm also scouting when I do it, so it's great.
And where's the best place for somebody to find out what that seminar schedule is and where they might find you?
Well, the best place right now, I would say, is, I have a website, From Start to Stardom, and I just got my brand new website all redone, so it's up, and I post when I do seminars there. I'll post it on there.
And what's that URL for our listeners?
It's from starttostardom.com.
Okay.
And the other thing about it is it's got I'm writing blogs now, and it's got actor tips, and people can write me, let's say they have a question, maybe I'll blog about that or do an actor tip about it. It's got testimonials on it of people who've read the book, and it's very, like the book, user-friendly.
And the book is available at Amazon. It's got some terrific reviews.
Yeah, you can buy it totally off of Amazon. You just go to Amazon, you can get it. You can go to the website again, From Start to Stardom, and it will direct you over there.
So after decades of being a casting director and working at you've really been at the zenith of the profession. These are fan questions, okay?
Okay.
Who do you consider to be today's best living actor?
Well, there's so many. Okay?
But if you could only name one.
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Meryl Streep. If I could cast a movie with Meryl Streep in it, that would be rock my world, because I think she is brilliant.
She can do anything.
And whenever she plays a role, she becomes that character. Her whole beingness and who she is embodies that character. Whether it's Mamma Mia, The Devil Wears Prada, doesn't matter. Remember her in Sophie's Choice?
Oh,
sure. She was speaking Polish, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she is, to me, an icon, and she's brilliant.
And what male would you cast opposite her?
What male would I cast?
Lisa, he'll keep going. He'll torture you.
I know. Well, okay. Oh my God,
there's so many. I know.
Great ones. I'm going to say Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a movie together, if I remember. But I love him. He's just also
he's another one. He's another one who melts into the role.
When you look at their performances, like whatever character they play, they just embody the whole character, and they bring their whole personality, but they play it where you almost forget it's them.
You know what movie they were in together? It was Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
But that element of becoming the character. Pretend I'm a young actor coming in to read for you, and you want me to do that. As a casting director, what do you say to somebody? How do you convey that kind of that need?
Well, you see, in my book, I talk about this, and I talk about when you come in for an audition, you have to do your homework, right? So you have to do your research. That's your job. So it doesn't matter what you're playing. I'll give you an example, right? I had this movie I did called In Search of Fellini that will be out. They're editing it now, and it's a story about this young girl's search for the Italian director Federico Fellini. And, I read probably over 250 girls for this part, right, or watched their audition tapes or read them live. And it's very interesting because the girls that did the research and really knew Federico Fellini's films and had done their homework about him and had actually watched some of his movies did better than the girls who didn't, because the story, one of the points in the story is she has to look a little like Giulietta Messina, who's one of his characters and one of his actresses in the movie. And the girl who ended up getting it was passionate about Federico Fellini and knew his films and was very passionate about getting this job. There was 3 girls that it was down to in the end. And I was very much passionate and wanted this girl to get the job, And it took some, there was a lot of conversations with the director and going, okay, and the producer and getting everybody on the same page. But my point of that is I feel that actors, that it's their job to really do their homework and come and treat every audition like, hey, this is a new opportunity, and it's an opportunity to come in and show my stuff and be this character and do the best I can. I can't tell you what your process is to become a character. That's up to you, and that's your choice as an actor to use your creative imagination and work on that. But the guys who do that, I feel, tend to do better than the people who come in and haven't really done their research and homework on how I'm going to play a character.
That's fantastic advice. The takeaway being, do your homework and be serious about your craft.
For sure.
Now, would you give the same advice to? I know we have many, many listeners, and I know there's some people over 30 and 40 that always wanted to be actors and find themselves with a lot more time and they want to get into it. Would you give them the same advice?
Yeah,
because obviously
totally. I met a woman. Who did I meet? I met a woman this weekend in Miami. I was teaching out there, and the mom of a kid, and she said to me, and she was probably in her 40s or whatever, and she said, I've always thought about being an actor. Do you think I'm too old? And I said, you're never too old if that's your dream.
Wow. You're great. I love that answer. I love that answer.
What's June Squibb? Look at her.
Right,
her?
right.
She's amazing, and she's started later in life, and
the rest is history.
Well, Lisa, I can't tell you what a pleasure this has been. We're going to put From Start to Stardom up on our website, and we'll be directing people to your great book. I just think that what you've conveyed here today, the words of wisdom to aspiring actors and even those who want to get behind the scenes in the casting field, is truly inspirational.
My favorite thing about casting is two things. One is discovering somebody who goes on to have a huge successful career, because then I feel like, wow, I was part of that journey. And two is putting together a great ensemble, and when it's successful, I feel like, hey, I had a hand in that.
Well, I must tell you, your passion and your dedication really comes through.
This has been really terrific, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate your time. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, well, I really appreciate it, you guys.
Didn't you find that interesting?
Fascinating.
I think every actor or wannabe actor is going to love to hear the process of what it takes, and her book sounds fabulous.
Well, her book, From Start to Stardom, we'll have a link to that on our website.
There's a question I want to ask you.
Yeah?
You were in casting sessions many times.
Yes, I was.
Is there one that just stands out as a crazy? Because you asked Lisa London a couple questions. Is there one that stands out, and is there one that was kind of off the walls? Is there one that you can remember?
That was off the wall? You bet.
Or different?
You bet. I won't mention the show or the actress, but she walked in and she had a portfolio of pictures and she laid them out in front of the executive producer, who was really kind of the guy making all the decisions. I was just the supervising producer. And he opened her portfolio and it was all nudes right out of Playboy.
Oh, boy.
She got the part.
And you must have hated that.
It was terrible. It was very stressful. So listen, be sure to check out our website at wherehollywoodhides.com. We will have a link to Lisa's book, From Start to Stardom. I recommend it highly if you have a child who's interested in show business and the acting career, or if you yourself have any interest in becoming a performer, because Lisa really does lay it out, kind of painting by the numbers, exactly the kinds of things you need to do to make it in Hollywood.
I have to say, in this short span, I think it was 4 or 5 years that I was acting, and I was almost famous. The casting director was the person I had the most fear of.
They are the gatekeepers for talent.
You knew that they could make you or break you in terms of exposing you.
If a casting director sparks to your talent, you have a good shot at getting the part and maybe moving on.
I wish I had this book when I was acting.
Absolutely. So that's quite a recommendation.
Anyway, I just want to remind everyone that the Golden Globe Awards have just been announced, and if you want to see all the nominees, go to goldenglobes.com.
Again, thanks to Lisa London for a great conversation. This is Bob McCullough.
And this is Suzanne Herrera-McCullough. See you at the movies.
From Chilicoths and Paducahs with their bazookas to get their names up in lights.
All armed with photos from local rotos, with their hair in ribbons and legs in tights. Hooray for Hollywood! You have no way of knowing who'll be good.
Maybe you'll be another Papa Dion, your name in neon. If you get lucky, you could. Yes, buddy, you'll arrive if you can top his 5. Hooray for Hollywood!
Hooray for Hollywood! Hollywood and Hollywood! They hire cowboys and then hang their chaps up and doll their maps up and give them all that they lack. Now ain't it funny? They pay 'em money. Shows what you can do if your horse can act. People think